So, winter is coming.
Yes.
Not to quote a well-known show, but it is coming.
What show?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, I don't.
Winter
watch
is coming. I don't. No,
Oh.
dude, I actually don't either.
Oh, okay.
It's
So-
not.
So that's a very
I'm not
relevant-
gonna dive into that. but
relevant.
yeah, it's
Good
not
start.
because I don't think I like it. I just don't. I haven't watched it.
Oh, I think I would like it too much. That's why I haven't started it.
Yeah, and like each episode is like
seasons.
4 hours long.
Yeah, they're like 2 hours each. It's like, dude, I barely had time for Breaking Bad.
I also haven't seen that.
It's a good show.
I know. I gotta watch it, but
Winter's coming.
winter's coming, and so
I'm going
So
to
the-
Florida.
yeah, right.
See ya. I'll
Well,
be back in the spring.
So, places that have heavy winter, like Michigan, when winter comes, so does the winter blues. So when I say the winter blues, what I mean is like for people who are in winter, like I feel like the creative drive, just it's like really hard to get up and be like, man, I want to create when when it's gross outside and it's sloshy and you're
I have to
cold
shovel.
and you can't do
Scrape
anything.
my car off.
Yeah, scrape your car off. Like
Hands
for,
are chapped.
for some reason, you just can't get your feet warm ever.
Well, I know you don't like being cold.
No, I hate being cold.
It's
It's
the
the
weirdest
worst. It's the worst thing.
I'm about
ever.
layers, man. I'm all about layers.
I am
like,
too.
Your feet get cold, put on some nice warm socks, wear some boots. That's what I do.
Yeah, and I do too, and I feel like it's still cold. Like you would look at me and be like, "That dude doesn't get
That guy
cold.
doesn't get cold.
Cold all the time."
You just have a cold soul. You just
You
You're
got
like-
it. You nailed
you're
it.
like
there it
ice.
is.
You're just the ice queen or
So-
king in your case.
So, so I did just kind of want to, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe people don't talk about this enough, but like the winter blues, I feel like is a real thing. It's this thing that like the weather gets bad and you don't feel like creating, you don't feel driven to do stuff. You get super lethargic and your household chores and stuff, which makes you want to create even less. And I guess I just kind of wanted to riff on like what you do, what I do to get past that and like continue to create and want to come in and, you know, do business and be creative and all that stuff.
No, that's interesting. I mean, we talk about usually in the heart of winter, we always come in here and it's freezing and
Yeah.
we're just like, ugh. Some days we don't come in because
Yeah.
you know the roads will kill us. And we're
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
literally, I'm not driving in today, so I'm working from home. And you're like, sweet, so am I. Great.
Well, that's one of the great things that owning a company allows us to do.
Right. Especially a company like this because we can take our work with us. And,
Right.
You know, so we know blizzards are coming. And I mean, I think last year we didn't come to the office for like,
It was like a week and a half
yeah,
straight.
because of just straight blizzards.
Yeah.
And we're just like, it's not worth it. There's not a lot going on. But I think that adds to winter blues, right? Like,
Totally.
you get that lull. I think businesses at the beginning of the year, quarter one, you know, corporations and corporate companies that we work for,
Mm-hmm.
they operate on baseline budgeting. You know, end of the year, they see, oh, I got to spend my money. Spend. So the end of the year is really busy. You know, quarter four is really busy, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just purging that cash because they know if they don't spend it, they don't get it in next year's budget.
Right.
And they don't want that because what if something happens and I gotta
Yeah.
have that money.
Well, and that's all part of budgeting. So, I mean, obviously you want to,
Use
if
what
you
have.
don't use it, you don't get it next year.
Right.
So,
and yeah, so we're really busy up until about Christmas.
yeah.
you
But then
know.
there's that first month lull where everyone's
Oh,
like,
I mean, for us, it's less than a first month. I mean, you know, we'll see slowdowns all the way up through March,
Mm-hmm.
middle of March, where like we're just thinking like, did everyone forget about us?
Yeah,
and then
dude.
Then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, okay.
so you
Now
meant it's more than 1 month. You said less.
I meant more. Sorry. Brains and stuff. Yeah, no, I meant more. Because, I mean, and we see that, I guess, a lot of times where we're just sitting here, and that's kind of what you're talking about, the winter blues, where we're just
Yeah.
like, we're in it, and we're like, we're showing up here, and we're like, why am I here? I'm not making money. I'm not producing anything.
Not making anything.
I'm not doing really anything, and that can be frustrating.
Yeah. Even when you have creative stuff on the docket, you come in, you're freezing, and you're just like, you cut your hands on blazing hot, freezing ice on your door handle, and you're just like, dude, No,
But
I don't want to do an audio session. Sorry.
But you're well. I will do an audio session. Oh, you mean for like one of our, like for a film?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're just like I'm just.
hey, we have to
done.
score this scene, and you're
Yeah,
like,
right.
No, I'm
you're like
good.
it's 2 p.m. and it's pitch black outside.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. No, I mean I get it. Your question was how do I deal with it?
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things where you just do it. You don't. There's no like science, in my opinion, of like how do you deal with being depressed in winter. It's just like, just show up to work and make something of the day. I guess that's like that's how I do it.
No,
I mean, because yeah, you wake up and you're like, what's frustrating is, for me, with the snow, is by the time I get my family dug out of our house and cars cleaned off and I'm here, and slow travel that could potentially kill me. So, you're 15 miles an hour, white knuckle driving situations.
Yeah.
And you get here and a half an hour commute took me an hour and 25 minutes.
Yep.
And the whole time was anxiety. And by the time I get to work to start my day, I'm exhausted. And my day doesn't start until
Like 11:30.
10:30
yeah.
or so, right?
And then you get here and nobody else is here. We're like the only ones who showed up.
Yep. And then you step out or you like take a break for lunch
Yeah.
and the sun's already setting.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what in the world is going on? And then like, if we're fortunate enough, we'll take a trip in summer down to Florida or something like that. And we're just like, I'm not going home.
Yeah, right.
See your family. I'm just, and we just don't like the snow.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that we hate the snow.
We
It's
could
just-
do without it.
We could just do without it.
For
And-
as long as it's here.
But I think what's interesting is I don't think the snow is what affects the business cycle. Like here, I think
No.
the slowdown in work doesn't necessarily.
No, the
reflect
slowdown in work is one thing because that's just quarterly. That's just how a lot of businesses operate. I'm more talking about I think the emotional slog of creation when it's in the winter.
Okay.
When it's winter and you're just like, there is work or there isn't work. Either way, you're just a slog. It seems like it's just a trudging through to do anything, right?
There's a train coming, by the way. This very much sounds like a scene out of Charlie Brown Christmas. And it sounds like Lucy's going to say, "You need a purpose in life, Steve."
Oh.
But I need a nickel before I can tell you
So.
what that is. I mean, really, you're kind of Charlie Browning on me right now. It's cool.
Well, no.
I mean, it's the right time of year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe you'll find your purpose.
No, I feel like I have worked to combat it.
So
I feel
what
like I wanted to
could-
talk about it because I feel like people don't talk about it enough, about it being an actual thing and how people like get through it,
Yeah. You don't think people talk about, or you feel like people don't talk about the winter blues enough?
I feel like they don't
Or-
talk about it as like a reality. Like when somebody says like, man, I kind of got the winter blues, I
Sure.
feel like it is kind of a problem, especially like Midwesterners. We already,
I don't know how people in Alaska deal with it.
yeah, right. I mean, we already don't get like a ton of sun
Right.
throughout the year. So,
Right.
I mean, it's just like a thing that Midwesterners have like vitamin D deficiencies because we don't get a ton of
Is
sun.
that a thing?
It is a thing.
Oh, what? Okay.
But yeah, I think from my aspect, it's just like I think that winter dragging people down like emotionally, I feel like is a problem and it hinders creation. At least
Wow.
it used to for me.
So it sounds to me like you need a psychiatrist, and that is why I'm here. I am a non-licensed psychiatrist, for all of you to know.
Please.
Disclaimer. But I will be your psychiatrist for today. As Lucy would say, it sounds like you need a purpose in life. So is there a way that you could channel that, I guess we could call it negative energy or lack of energy? Is there a way you could channel that into a creative process? Is there a strategy you could use that you
Yeah,
think
totally. And I mean, I think I've already done that.
maybe you just need to write more horror films that take place in winter?
Oh my gosh.
That could work.
No, I think I need more like uplifting stuff.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
No, I mean, I feel like I have been able to deal with like the winter blues pretty well.
Sure.
I guess more so why I wanted to riff on it was I just wanted to put out maybe a couple of things that like we do to combat that like personally, so that maybe if somebody finds it helpful, great, you know?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we do here is we find things to occupy our time, because in our industry, as we talked at the beginning of this video, there's ups and downs and swings and ebbs and flows to content creation from a commercial standpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
People aren't hiring us right now every single month of the year to create content.
Yeah.
And there are a couple months in the year that have a startup process. But for us, what we've done is we've taken those opportunities as moments to build our business and build our creative process and enhance and take what we've learned from the year prior and begin the year that way, which is kind of nice that the end of our year is always really busy and the beginning of the year is slow. Because at the beginning of the year, you and I, we come in and we sit down, like usually after Christmas and after the new year, we'll come in and be like, what are our objectives this year? What do we want to do?
Yeah, it always feels good. It's like fresh start. You know?
Right. And some of our best ideas have come from that. Our Western came from that, of us saying like we really want to produce this short film, right? And so we're like, okay, cool. Now it's not done. Maybe it'll get done.
But it's coming.
It'll get done this winter, maybe. But it's that idea of just like you never can stop.
Yeah.
The creative process, and you never should.
So, yeah, I think you nailed it on a head there, and I think that's kind of what I've done is that, like, I've tried to not wait until winter to, like, try and, like, jumpstart my ecosystem of creation.
Sure.
And I think this year has helped out a ton with that, because I think it's all dependent on that. I mean, we've talked about that a bit recently about ecosystem, and it's just like, if you don't have the ecosystem or built it within yourself or have surrounded yourself with it of like creation every day, the times at which that come, like the winter blues that are hard to create in, it's even harder,
right?
Because you haven't set it up throughout the year that like when the winter blues comes, yes, it's harder, but you've already built that ecosystem to lean on. Right. So it's like, what we're doing here with Real Talk. It's like, well, sweet. We didn't have this last year.
Right.
We didn't have a built up ecosystem of like, no, we're creating every single day. So.
Well. Yes.
It looked like you were going to say something so profound and then just.
Dead air.
Yes.
Air.
Dead air.
That was me saying I need to say something. I think you and I have always been a proponent of, and we've never executed it to its fullest or in the best way possible, but I think we've always been proponents of always be exercising your creative mind.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form. And the reality is, even though we work in a creative field, sometimes we're not
the most creative.
Yeah, I don't want to say that,
but there's no other way to say it.
I mean, there is some realities when you're sitting here between projects. Maybe you're in, you're working in the sales pipeline, trying to bring in new leads and convert some new projects, or maybe trying to make some enhancements or to our demo reel or to our website or work on our marketing materials in general.
Yeah.
I've made the comment to you before, like, I didn't know that I was in the business of building websites for how much we've worked on the website. And one of the things we've done in the past couple of winter seasons is we've taken our slow time and been like, well, now the time is to work on our website. And what you say is, like, that's really draining.
Yeah.
Because creatively, you're not motivated to do that.
Right.
Right.
I'm like, that's the time when you should be creating more.
Right. You should be grabbing a camera and going out and shooting a short. I know we have a couple winter short ideas, that it's like, once snow hits, it's like, just because it's negative 20 degrees out doesn't mean we have to stay inside.
Right.
We'll be able to find actors who will go out with us and film.
Yeah.
But we can grab a camera and we can go. I mean, it obviously can't be so cold that the camera's freezing. But
that's another reality of stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had it. I've had sound gear freeze up. I've had camera gear freeze up where it's like, I
Just
don't
gotta
know.
keep it under a blanket.
Yeah, like heating pads, like those hand warmers.
Right.
I've wrapped those around cameras before.
Yeah, dude.
You know, it's like, so filming in this type of a condition, it's like, it doesn't have to stop, but
Right.
it's not ideal. And also, I mean, one of the reasons that we see a lot of production dry up is because, let's be honest, people don't want to shoot outside
No.
on location content in the middle of winter.
It's
Nobody
there's
likes doing it.
There's like a week in Michigan where the winter is pretty enough that you'd be like, this is commercial worthy, and then the rest is just like gray slush,
Yeah.
ice,
Well,
and rotting trees and rusty cars and
And bringing a production crew on a location
Yeah.
is never fun in winter.
No.
I mean, I feel so bad for ADs who have to sit there or production coordinators and get a crew to a 45-minute away location to film content, because the stress of will my sound mixer show up? Will my DP die?
will someone's car break down?
Right.
Will the grip truck break down?
I've been in shoots, man. I've been on shoots that have been super dicey.
Yeah.
There was a couple years back where I had to travel south. Normally an hour and a half drive. Took me 3.5 hours to get there because the freeway was so icy that salt wasn't working and it just kept coming. And I normally would feel really bad in that situation, but I didn't feel bad because I beat the client to the shoot, because the client lived here and commuted every day, which I was like, wow, what a commute. But anyway, you gotta do what you gotta do. She was way later, and then I felt even worse because she slipped and fell in her company's parking lot, and like,
This sounds awful.
yeah, but we still did the shoot and we still shot all day. Now the drive home was actually a lot better because finally, it
Sure.
got warmer and stuff. But the drive down was terrible. I left at 5 a.m. thinking I got to give myself enough time. Call was 7:30, and I didn't get there until like 9. It was crazy. And and the director and the cinematographer, they were from LA and they flew in, so they were in a hotel a block from the shooting location. So for them, they were like, wow, the roads are really bad, but they got a taxi there, an Uber there. Like, they didn't. So to them, it was like, yeah, it was really terrible. I was the only local person on the shoot, and I'm like, this was awful.
That sounds terrible.
And they did feel really bad. But at the same time, it's like, that's just the realities you have to deal with sometimes, and sometimes that can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And maybe, you can't always push through it. Like, maybe some days you're like, you know what? No, I'm just staying home because I can.
Yeah.
But even then, in those days, you should find the time, in my opinion, to work on something creative.
Something.
Right. And so, like, for me, I always make sure I have a hard drive with me and a laptop with me
Yeah.
to where I can work.
Learn some new animation skills or
Work on. There's always stuff to be done.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yep.
set extensions and compositing and VFX or sound design or whatever. There's always something to do
Yeah.
outside of our paid or outside of our client projects here for us to work on. And those are the things where it's just like, you just got to make sure those are always there so that when the moment presents itself, seize the opportunity to work on something that's meaningful to yourself personally.
Right.
And create that, that personal
Right.
piece of property.
It's like it's tough to get through it, but it's like, yeah, it's like bust out a script, bust out a sketch pad. I don't know, like start beating out a story that you started, has got rattling around in your head, or edit something you've been working on. I don't know. I think a lot of it too is like what I said earlier. It's just like building up the ecosystem of creating before that time hits.
Right.
Because then when it does, it's a lot easier, I think, to push past the slog. It's a lot easier to get through the winter blues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, for me at least, like, it's going to come.
Right.
Like, and did I build up enough? Did I store enough nuts away in the tree to,
Right. Right. Well, one of the things my pastor always says is, decide what you're going to do before you have to decide what you're going to do.
I like that.
Always be proactive in those things that are meaningful in your life.
Yeah.
To decide when this happens,
Right.
I'm going to do this. And to us, the creative process is meaningful in our lives.
Right.
And it's worth thinking about proactively,
Yep.
in my opinion, and saying, when I have nothing else to do,
Yeah.
I'm going to work on this.
Yeah.
Or when something's in my way that stops me from doing what I want or have to do, I'm still going to seize that opportunity to do now something I want to do.
Yeah.
So the winter blues, to answer your question, I think you just got to do what you got to do. I think you keep pushing forward. One of the hardest, you said earlier, it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true in all creative fields across the board. You know you have something you need to do, but boy, you just feel like your brain isn't turned on.
Yeah.
Writer's block, call it whatever you want. You don't feel inspired.
Yeah.
I don't know. And in winter, when things slow down, that only makes things worse.
Yeah.
Where you just are like, it's so cold, I don't care. I've given up.
Yeah. I
Right?
mean, that's exactly what I'm talking
I'll
about.
see you when the sun shines.
See you
again.
next year.
Yeah, I'll see you when the sun shines. But I think the reality is you just have to keep focused on your goals.
Yeah.
And
Have
know
goals.
that you are in control of your ship
Yeah.
and no one else cares.
Right.
And if your goal is to make people or to share something with people that they'll enjoy, then it's up to you to get it done. And those roadblocks, those hurdles of the winter blues will slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, I'm not going to let that happen, and you can keep that energy moving, great.
Yeah.
You're going to keep pushing. You're one step ahead,
Yeah.
and it's just going to keep you moving down the line.
And don't let it snowball, I think, is the other part to that. Because it's like, I think the hardest part I used to deal with was the snowball effect, where it's just like, I let the winter blues get to me one day, and so I didn't create. So then the next day I let that stack and be like,
Right.
oh, well, I didn't create, so I'm a loser, or like
Right.
whatever.
Well, and that goes back to the ecosystem that you talk
Yeah,
about.
right.
It's like when you don't have an ecosystem of creation, you don't know what creation looks like.
Yeah.
And so when you don't know what creation looks like and a hurdle presents itself, you don't know what non-creation looks like. And so
Yeah.
you might sit there and be like, I have this great idea.
Right.
And I'll write the script tomorrow.
Right.
And then you wake up and your heater broke and your hands are frozen. And you're like, I can't write anything because I can't drive to a coffee shop because,
Right.
whatever, life circumstances. And then that just, what you're saying, piles up.
It's like I'm saying like, okay, yeah, that happened, and that might stop you that day. Okay, fine. Don't let it snowball into the next day and the next day and the next day. Like, don't let the idea that, man, I missed a day, snowball into, I guess I just can't do it then.
Yeah, but I almost challenge that thought of, if you accept that something stopped you today,
Mm-hmm.
then what's going to stop you from accepting it tomorrow?
Right.
So to me, I almost say, if you have those ideas in your mind of, I'll get to it tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it tomorrow, you're not going to get it tomorrow. You need to push past that and say,
Mm-hmm.
no, I need to get to it now because it's in my mind and I know it needs to be done. And if I don't do it now, there's a great chance I won't do it tomorrow and I won't do it the next day and
Yeah.
the next day. And then that snowball effect happens.
Yeah, no, that's super true. I feel that.
And so my recommendation for anybody who's going through that is do something.
Yeah. Keep a notebook around or something in your pocket.
And you know what?
you know.
If you work on something because you're like, I need to write 5 pages in a screenplay today, and you end up deleting those 5 pages later,
Mm-hmm.
who cares? You
You
made
still did
progress.
it. Yeah, right.
You still made progress that helped you move to a point where you could delete those 5 pages later
Right.
and write the pages you want.
Because to know that you did something that you didn't like, you have to do it.
Exactly.
So,
And that, we go through that all the time with editing.
Yeah.
It's like there
Oh
are
my
times
gosh.
when you see an edit and you're just like, I really don't want to do this. And what you do is you get this cancer in your mind that just pushes it forward and forward and forward, or delays it,
yeah.
and keeps pushing it and deferring it until you're like a week out from the deadline. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything. And then you're rushed and the end product isn't that good.
Right.
Whereas in other projects that we've done, we're like, man, this is going to be a really tough edit. We don't let that stop us, and we say, yep, but we got to get in there to figure out what we don't like.
Right.
And once you start doing that, you create a 20-minute edit for something that needs to be 2 minutes, and then you start cutting stuff. This isn't needed. That's not needed. This isn't needed. And it gives you time to refine. And then you really start to feel the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
You really start to feel the happiness come back. And I would also say that's probably another thing of the winter blues that contributes to it, is because you're not creating, you're only enhancing the effects of the winter blues. Whereas if you were to create it, you would stop it dead in its tracks right then and there.
Right. Exactly. I totally agree.
And you'd wake up with a purpose, Steve.
Well,
as Lucy would say.
I was never coming into this like I didn't have one. I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like it's not talked about enough. So,
no, it's good. I keep on keeping on and tread the narrow path and keep creating what you're called to create. That's my advice.
Totally. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Let us know what you guys do to combat the winter blues. Obviously, we're all ears, and I think the world would appreciate your insight. So join us tomorrow for another one.
See ya.
Later.